Hello everybody and welcome back to more of the Fruit of Grisaia. Here we are on Sakaki's route. In the last episode, Sakaki was tending to Yuji's injuries after he was attacked and the opponents got more tougher. So he sustained some injuries and Yumiko didn't leave his side, for the night, and this was very sweet. But she has fired Yuji. She doesn't want to put him in harm's way anymore. Yuji is not going to take it sitting down though, because he's going to keep an eye on her still. My contract with Sakaki is at an end. I'm no longer obligated to guard her. Our classmates were uniformly surprised by the news, but they hadn't pestered Sakaki about her reasons. I mean, I'm sure they can probably put one and one together, right? I think they've more or less figured out why she made that painful decision. Game, let me tell the people. Don't tell them for me. Makina, you ready to go? That was louder than I expected. Okay. Is the audio always that loud? I mean, I turned down the game audio in post, but wow. Amani had a shopping list too, didn't she? Don't forget it or a thing, because might get Skype later. God forbid we forget the cilantro again. Okay, kid, you're just an off-character now. Don't tally-ho me. Makina? Her feet pattering noisily against the carpet, Makina heads up to Amani's room. On the other side of the lobby, Sachi's stooping slightly in the attentive pose of an old-time newspaper reporter, jotting down Sakaki's words in a small memo pad.
Hai, wakarimashita.
You planning to break a story?
Gomennasai. Amari soto ni deru wake ni mo ikanai kara. Iiんです。遠慮されずに何でもお申し付けください。
Oh, okay.
ありがとう。
So she doesn't want to go outside because she probably fears for her life, understandably. So she's having Sachi go get her stuff. But there's no scoop involved. We're going out for a shopping trip, so Sakaki's asking us to pick up a few things, just like Amane. Yeah, let's go. Answering my younger classmates, I glanced to the far side of the lobby. Sakaki's been reading on a sofa at the side of the large front windows for a while now. But from the desultory way she's picking through the pages, I think it's safe to say she isn't particularly focused on the story. She has a lot on her mind. She glances up from the page briefly. Our eyes meet from across the room. Oh? Sakaki looks away, gets to her feet, and walks off in the direction of her room.
Kazami-san?
Yes? No. Yeah, we should get going. Since relieving me of my position, Sakaki hasn't set foot outside the school's walls. That's particularly because of her own instinct for self-preservation, and partially because of me. The girl's decided it's no longer possible to actively protect herself against the clear threat posed by those attackers. She dismissed me so I wouldn't be dragged into a losing battle on her behalf. Because, I mean, let's face it, the people were getting stronger and stronger. There was going to come a point where we wouldn't be able to stop them from doing what they needed to do. But even so, I've continued to keep an eye on Sakaki, if more indirectly than before. I try to keep my distance, but I'm never too far away to respond in case something actually happens. I think Sakaki's faintly aware of that. It's probably part of the reason she's shutting herself up in the dorm, instead of going outside and making my life harder. That's quite kind of her. I mean, it's not like she's came out and told me any of this, of course, but considering her behavior until now, that seems like a natural interpretation. Sakaki defiantly rejected the life of a bird in a cage, acting as she pleased even in the face of threats. But now she's locked up once again. My determination to protect the girl is part of what's now fencing her in. Honestly, pretty damn infuriating. Amani's shopping list isn't too huge today, thankfully, and my young classmates only need a few things themselves, all of which we find easily enough. That said, the total time investment on this trip turns out to be fairly sizable. Sakaki's shopping list reflects her personality. It's neatly and methodically written, even naming specific manufacturers and product numbers. She leaves out nothing to chance, I guess. And Sachi insisted we conduct a painstaking hunt for the exact items described. So this final part of the trip is taking longer than the rest combined.
でも、ここまで細かく言っていただけると、買う方としては助かります。
Sachi smiles peacefully, allowing the eco-friendly reusable shopping bags dangling from her hands to sway back and forth. Naturally, she brought enough of those things for all of us. Not that it's anything new, but you're sure on top of things, Sachi.
はい、備えあれば憂いなしと申しますから、すべてにおいて通じる言葉です。
Good thinking. They love that cliche in my workplace too.
避妊具も常に持ち合わせていれば、あっと思った際にも慌てずに済みますよね。つまりはそういうことです。
Yeah, sure, whatever you say. Right, sure. It's a bit late to lament my role in the rising levels of vulgarity around here. But when a girl who comes off as innocent personified starts talking like this, I can't help feeling a little guilty. But then again, lately I've been starting to think a good part of the problem might lie inside Sachi herself. We already know that. She takes things to a very literal scale. But as I'm considering the matter, Sachi comes to a stop with a small surprised sound. She's gazing a little way down the street with a curious expression on her face. What's wrong, Sachi? I turn to follow her gaze. What the hell is that woman doing? A certain blonde in a fairly revealing outfit has parked herself by the side of the road. Oh, is this where Yuji finds out about all this? Ensconced in the driver's seat of her tacky bright yellow sports car, she kicks her bare legs in the air in a tacky display of irritation, turning every male head in the area, of course. She's putting on a big show of waiting for someone, looking down at her watch with a pouty expression of boredom, occasionally even whining to her audience. An accurate evaluation. Maybe a little too accurate. As I bring a hand to my forehead and sigh heavily, the bare-legged blonde in question turns in our direction.
Hi!
Hi! And with a greeting more appropriate for a co-ed hitchhiker stranded in the Utah desert, she favors me with a nauseatingly sweet smile. You know the smile she does. Alright, let's go. No reason to hang around here all day. Studiously avoiding eye contact, I attempt to play dumb.
何無視ってんのよ。こっちは1時間もこうして待ってたのよ。ガン無視ってことはないでしょ。ねえってば。
Abruptly switching to fluid and idiomatic Japanese you never expect from someone with her appearance, JP calls to stop me. I obey, feeling my face settle in an expression of profound irritation. Oh man, I gotta get back. What's this? Here I was, thinking the owner of some cheap sex shop decided to announce his grand opening by renting a walking billboard bimbo. But it's just my good friend JB doing her thing. Now what can I do for you?
これまで功労者として多めに見てきたけど、その暴言はもはや許せないわ。風見裕二。
Look, JB, I'm not particularly criticizing you. I have the greatest respect for your professional capabilities. All I'm saying is, given your age, might be time to quit that hobby of wandering around town in brainless foreign slut mode while dirty old men rope you with your eyes. Rape you with your eyes. Maybe they rope her too, I don't know.
あんた、絶対に次の移動でアフガンかソマリアに飛ばしてやるから覚悟しときなさいよね。
That might be a nice change of pace. I'm currently unemployed, you see. Really makes you realize the importance of having a nice steady job, you know.
は？何言ってるの？あなた今。
Halfway through the sentence, JB bites her tongue. Sachi mocking her at my side. And we're in the middle of a public street full of random civilians. Not exactly the time or place to discuss the job.
学生なのに無職とは面白いご身分ね。
I'm not getting paid to be a student. I suppose not. That's why I'm enjoying a lazy summer vacation instead of polishing my resume.
ねえ、ちょっと話があるんだけど、
CV for
これから
some
少し
folks.
付き合わない？
What, right now? Oh, we gotta get back.
すぐに。
Sounds like another troublesome discussion awaits. JB still got a lighthearted expression on her face, but she spoke those words just now in a familiar deadpan tone of voice. You know the kind. From years of experience, I know it means this is somehow related to work. Sorry, but would you two mind going back first? This might take a while.
はい、わかりました。
だよ。フレッシュな小娘2人放置プレイで、そっちの存在感のない金髪とんのか。お兄ちゃんってそんな熟女好きだったか？
Sachi, here's $5. Go buy her ice cream or something to shut her up.
存在感のない金髪？
おう。ちなみに存在感ある金髪ってのはチルチルのことな。ありゃ忘れようと思っても無理な話やで。
存在感。
Interesting how that part bothers you more than the mature woman crack.
ほら、マキちゃん。風見さん困ってるよ。
わーったよ。お兄ちゃん、ちゃんとおいたせずにまっすぐ帰ってくるのよ。
Wouldn't think of it. I never thought Makino would be the one saying that to me. The times are truly a-changing, they are.
それじゃあ、春寺さん、失礼します。風見さん、先に戻りますね。
Alright, you kids have fun. Sorry about that. Sachi promptly leaves, dragging a grumbling Makino along with her.
存在感ないかな。
Oh my god.
結構目立つと思ってたんだけどな。
Don't take the kids' crap seriously. Come on, let's get going already. Why is it that all of the women in my life, regardless of age and personality, uniformly manage to give me headaches? Why? Is it me? Maybe it's me. What am I doing wrong? Sakaki's begun to shut herself up in her room. Obviously, her visits to the riverbank have stopped as well. Can't be in two places at once right now. After a few minutes zipping down country roads in JB's ridiculously flashy car, the two of us take a seat near the otherwise deserted area where the incidents occurred.
そう。やっぱり個人的に護衛を頼まれていたのね。
And I wasn't specifically restricted from accepting, but in any case, it's been over a few days now. From the moment, I explained the details of my recent unemployment to JB. I'd expected her to be a little more surprised about Sakaki's request and my decision to accept it, but she doesn't even bat an eyelid. Kind of kills my momentum a little. I suppose JB may have done a little investigation on her own as part of this whole thing with Sakaki's father.
ほら、お弁当作ってきたのよ。
No thanks. I already ate. Once I've more or less finished my story, JB pushes a prettily wrapped lunchbox in my direction. Sandwiches, eh? Ah, wise choice, Julia. I suppose even you'd be able to make these without turning the kitchen into too much of a disaster zone. The weirdly girlish packaging is also a little painful to look at, but I decided best to keep that particular thought to myself.
あのね、ユージ。あれから私だって多少は料理も上達した。って、食べる前に一言ぐらい言ってから食べなさいよ。
Itadakimasu. I did say something, didn't you hear me? I always say something in some capacity.
もう。
Why the exasperation? I'll apologize if I did something wrong, like I usually seem to do.
もういいわよ。食べながらでいいから、ちょっと話を聞きなさい。
JB retrieves a small notebook from her black file case, her voice shifting to a business-like tone. As directed, I listened carefully while chewing away at her egg sandwiches.
先日、市ヶ谷の本家で人事異動があったのは知ってるわね。
I am? No. I am. Okay. Yeah, they sent the message around. The chief of staff resigned and they appointed a successor, right?
いつもの勢力争いの結果だけどね。
Oh boy, I hear you.
ただ、ちょっと困ったことがあって、後任となった門間陸将補は、国交省と強いパイプを持っている人間で、主に私鉄関連の財界人と深い交流を持っていたの。
Oh.
陸将補は早速こちらに接触してきたわ。異例なのよね。お偉方が就任早々、私たちみたいな下々のことに気をかけるなんて。 何か理由がない限り、そんなことはありえない。一体なぜかしらね。
To deliver some instructions about the situation with Sakaki's father, I'd imagine. East Beach lacked direct influence over our company, but now they've got a way to pressure us. Maybe even give us marching orders.
正解かどうかは私の立場からは言えないわね。
So it's true. It's true. Right.
ただ陸将補からは、風見雄二には別の塀の中に入ってもらった方がいいのではという話も出ていたわ。
What does that mean?
笑いながらだったから冗談のつもりなんだろうけど、内心はどう思っているんだか。
This really is one hell of a job, you know, despite the low salary. I'm pushed into a mission, yanked abruptly off it, and get a nice trip to the doghouse for my trouble. Our employee benefit program is just shining an example to the world.
ねえ、ユージ。ことはもう国レベルの話になってきているの。あなた一人が動いてどうなるような話じゃない。
I fucking hate Japan. What are you telling me to do?
学園から去って、榊由美子と関係を断ちなさい。
No, we're not doing that.
今度は命令を持って、あなたに相対することになってしまう。
I'm not leaving school. Nope. I see. So keeping me off the operation itself wasn't enough for them anymore. Now they want me to keep me away from Sakaki herself. This whole thing has been a headache from the start, and it's clearly only getting worse. Damn it. However, there is one element of JB's story that's been bothering me for quite some time. Sakaki's father interfering with public assets on behalf of his private interests is understandable, if legally dubious. But on a more fundamental level, the plot's full of holes. The vague initial orders, the lack of support, the artificial abduction attempts, and the obvious radical change after Sakaki Yumiko hired me? Under certain hypotheses, these contradictions all begin to make sense. Hey JB, there's just one thing I want to ask you.
何よ?
Up until now, I assumed Sakaki's father had learned about a threat to his daughter's safety and was taking a variety of measures to protect her.
そうよ.
That's a load of crap, isn't it? But considering all the events up until now, the relationships within the Sakaki family, and this odd pressure from the chief of staff, I've started to think that the real threat to Sakaki Yumiko may be her own father. Do you have any thoughts on that hypothesis? It had been in the back of my mind all along. If Sakaki Michiaki's objective was simply to protect his daughter, inducing Ishigaya to take me off the job to stop my success would make very little sense. But if the man's goals are exactly the opposite, things start to fall into place. He was probably trying to intimidate his daughter at first, and I was deployed to serve as some sort of prop in that ploy, you know, make it seem more legitimate. The attacker's constant complaints about what they signed up for might have referred to a scripted scenario handed down from their employer. In any case, at the present moment, the identity and goal of Sakaki Yumiko's enemy appears very clear. Her father's the one trying to abduct her, isn't that right, JP? Her face hard and expressionless, JP quietly casts her eyes down. That's more than enough of an answer for me.
私が答えられないと分かっていて聞いているのでしょ?
It's alright. You didn't have to. You already did, in a way. I'm sorry, Julia.
もう
JB has her own position to consider. Middle management in my company means dealing with highly confidential matters. I can't even guess how many secrets she's obligated to keep. And JB's at the very model of an uber-professional German, with a deeply ingrained reverence for playing by the rules. Nonetheless, I'm constantly using personal emotions and our shared history with my master to try and pry information out of her. I'm probably going straight to hell based on my treatment of women alone. Well, not that I have the slightest qualifications for heaven in any other respect. I'm worried about Sakaki. I think I'll be getting back to the dorm now.
本当にいいの? このままで.
I'm gonna be in danger if I continue interfering in the Sakaki family squabble. And from what JB's told me about Ichigai's internal situation, there's a real chance my own people might end up trying to kill me. Damned if I do, damned if I don't, right? Sakaki's alone. If I leave, she'll lose what little she has left. Now that I've learned about Sakaki's past, Closing my eyes and abandoning her is no longer an option. The girl spent her whole life profoundly isolated, and now, yet again, a group of self-centered adults are trying to tear her life apart. Although she cut herself off from others as a means of self-defense, somewhere deep down, Sakaki is still desperately hoping to be rescued. I don't know if I can save her, but if my interference can create a positive change in her life, I'm going to keep interfering as much as it takes. I owe that much to the woman who pulled me free of the same dark swamp Sakaki's trapped in.
Ne, Yuji.
What?
あなた、ひょっとして、ユミコのことが好きなの?
Why is it that women always go straight for the romantic explanation? You know better than those leering gossips in the dorm. God.
違うって言い切れる?
At the very least, that's not what this is about. Probably something closer to sympathy, if anything else.
同情ね.
JB responds in an ambiguous tone that suggests she's only half convinced.
市ヶ谷を含め、監視は厳しくなるわよ。場合によっては、国に歯向かうようなことにもなりかねないわ。
I suppose so.
もう一度、ちゃんと考えて。ユージ、Her
voice seemed a little lonely at the end. A bright yellow car, badly out of place for this shabby country road, roars around and the bandit disappears. The edge of the sky reddens little by little. Clouds begin to gather overhead, suggesting an evening shower to come. Yeah, rain. Figures. JB says difficult things sometimes. Turning over her final words in my mind, I slowly begin to walk the road home. The shower turns out to be a full-blown rainstorm, continuing well into the night. My room's filled with the rushing sound of the rain outside. I sit in bed and listen, completely unable to sleep. Insomnia is not exactly uncommon for me, but today it's not the usual variety. I just can't get the conversation with JB out of my head long enough to fall asleep. Sakaki Yumiko. Honestly, I didn't give her that much thought at first. Our first encounter certainly left a strong impression, but since then she's tended to fade into the background as often as not. I mean, it's been kind of true the whole game, really. I mean, up until her route started, obviously. Seemed like she was really more of a side character than... I mean, I guess they're all side characters in a way, but... I don't know, she seemed even more side character than most side characters. If that makes any sense. You know, for one thing, I've always tried not to get too deeply involved with my classmates, and she's a deeply private person herself. At some point, I recognized we were pretty similar in that regard, and little by little, I developed something of an interest in her. I think it was when I selected that one choice back then. And right now, she's weighing on my mind more heavily than anything else. Sitting up in my bed, I push the curtain open and look outside. It's coming down even harder than I expected. Staring at the drops of water bouncing off my window, I feel my thoughts certainly lurch inward. Oh, what the hell? Something almost like nausea wells up inside me. What the hell is this? From the bottom of my throat, the depths of my mind, something ugly pushes its way to the surface. Think about myself. Those were JB's instructions from this afternoon, weren't they? Funny thing to ask of a pet dog. In between rough breaths, a few self-depreciating words spill out of my mouth. I'm a dog, raised and trained on taxpayer money to accomplish certain jobs. They allow me the bare pretense of humanity, but that privilege is conditional on my absolute loyalty and success. And now I'm on the verge of ignoring orders outright, opposing Ichigai for the sake of one woman. Is it really alright to betray your country to help a single person? My master never taught me the answer to that one. Maybe that's the kind of question you can only ask yourself. Sakaki, what do you want me to do? A girl whose mother disappeared into a deep fog, a young woman betrayed by her father, a human being who lost sight of herself, consumed by a sense of meaninglessness. Staring at my faint reflection in the window, I asked Sakaki Yumiko a question. I know there's no answer waiting for me. Even Sakaki probably doesn't have one. But at this rate, she won't have the luxury of indecision for much longer. The drumbeat of the rain against my window finally dies down, In the silence, the darkness outside seems to grow thicker and more menacing. Resting both hands on the window, I continue to ask the night questions without answers. Feels like dawn may never come. And the next morning, when dawn didn't arrive, we're blessed with such pleasant weather that it's hard to believe that storm passed us only hours before. Even so, Sakaki gives no sign of leaving her room. It's just about the time where she'd usually be heading out for the riverbank, but she doesn't even appear in the lobby. Her shoes sit untouched in the cabinet, slowly gathering dust. In only a few days, that simple daily routine had vanished, leaving nothing but a void behind. And yet again, I have nothing to do but stand around engaged in silent soliloquies. I do that a lot, don't I? Michiru and Amane eventually invite me on a shopping trip. But we just went on a shopping trip yesterday. I asked them, but they said, no, we didn't. Probably found it a little hard to watch me guarding Sakaki's invisible afterimage. Didn't seem like Sakaki was likely to step outside of her room today, so I decided to accept.
いや、ごめんね、ユージ。車もバイクも調子悪くてさ。その上いろいろと買うものだけはあって、ちょっと困ってたのよね。
Why didn't you write on the list yesterday? You just wanted to go outside. We picked up a bunch of small miscellaneous items for Amane on the previous shopping trip, but today it's mainly bulky items like tissue paper and rice. Ah, okay. All three of us have our hands pretty full by the end. Definitely would have been difficult with just the two girls. I don't really mind. The Senbar is one thing, but I'm having a really hard time imagining you carrying 10 kilos of rice on that motorcycle. That's a lot of rice, isn't it? 10 kilos? Wow. I can just see her roaring down at the streets on that ridiculously low-rider chopper she calls Bobataro, with a big sack of rice strapped to her back like some backwoods grandma. Then again, Amane puttering along happily in a prototypical country mid-truck packed to the gills with provisions would also be pretty comical, but unlike the first case, it's funny because she looks so perfectly appropriate in that position. Probably better not to mention it.
このトイレットペーパーってやつはなんでこう指が痛くなる作りにしてんのよ。お客様サポート機能してんの
Boarding lowering a package of 12 recycled paper rolls onto the ground, Michiru shakes her hands in pain. Her index and middle fingers are already marked with bright red lines, and no way to get around it when you're carrying those things.
じゃあこれ使う？こないだマキナに届いてた荷物の持ち手なんだけどさ。
おお、引っ越しの時に使う緑のあれじゃん。使う。すごいわね、アマネ。なんでこんなの持ってんのよ。
いや、なんか使うかなって思って持ってたんだけどさ。
あのさ、アマネ、助けてもらって言うのもなんだけどさ、あんた本当におば。
皆まで言わなくてもいいわよ。
She's like a year older,
とっくに
isn't
自
she?
覚してるからさ。どうでもいいものをつい取っておく癖抜けないのよね。
大丈夫よ。男ってそういう母性のある女には弱いって聞くしさ。
What? My listless response is met with two vaguely reproachful glares. What? What's with the look? And the groaning.
またしてもうちら置いてけぼりっすか。
I'm right here.
置いてけぼりっすね。今日これで3回目っすね。
Ditch just he has. What are you, Yoda? Do me a favor and cut out the synchronized scorn, or what do you mean the third time? They answered my question with a pair of exaggerated American-style shrugs. After another set of deep, simultaneous sighs, it's like they choreographed it, to begin talking to each other instead of me.
聞きましたか、マネさん。この野郎、さっきまでの2回のスルーはカウントすらしてなかったみたいっすよ。
I do that to a lot of people. You expect me to keep track?
マジ空気っすね。何もないっすね。こっちは気遣って話しかけてんのにマジ空気っすよ。やってられねえっすよ。
So it would seem I've fallen out of the conversation twice before without even realizing it, putting aside this irritating little routine. I do feel slightly guilty about whiffing on their thoughtful attempts to feed me setup lines. Yeah, I guess I was a little lost in thought. I didn't mean to ignore you guys. I'm sorry about that. Amane and Michiru glance at each other and exchange brief, slightly tired little sighs. But when Amane turns back to look at me in the eye, there's an oddly gentle expression on her face.
Sakaki-san no koto.
Yeah, that's right. She saw right through me. It's times like these that make you realize women control the world on a pretty fundamental level.
まあ心配よね。解雇されたとは言っても、あの子の周りに何も起こらないって保証があるわけじゃないし、そもそも何が起こってるのかもよく分かってないしね。
How has Sakaki been doing lately from what you've seen? Anything noticeably different? Amane shakes her head slowly.
パッと見は変わんないけど、やっぱ少し落ち込んでるっぽいわね。マキナがいつもの調子で突っ込んでも寂しそうな顔して「そうね」とか言ってるだけだもんね。普段のユミコとは明らかに違うというか。
Doesn't she always look sad? She's got that kind of resting bitch face. I see. Sakaki's trying to at least appear calm around me, but even so, it seems she isn't completely able to hide the turmoil underneath the surface.
まあそのさ、私には難しくてわかんないけど、あんたまでそんなんじゃみんな一緒くたで落ち込んじゃうからさ、とりあえずから元気だけでも出しときなって。そうそう、ここでごちゃごちゃ考えててもしゃあないわけやし、家戻ったらごちそう作ったるさかい、それ食べて元気出しやな。
Well, some people don't have it as good as you, Amane. Amane delivers this line with a guffaw and a friendly smack to my ass. Not only am I unable to help Sakaki, I've ended up getting my classmates worried about me. Truly pathetic. What am I supposed to do? Yet again, I find myself mired in a simple question that has no clear answer. God damn it. What's that? What is that? Well, we're gonna find out on Monday what that is. So I will see you next week, guys. Hope you're enjoying the story so far. I know I am. Seems like it's more involved than a lot of the other routes. Like, there's like, you know, you got the whole Ichi guy and Yuji's on his own job and stuff. It seems like this is kind of like the big climactic of this, you know, the climax of the story that we've been waiting for. You know, all the routes, and then the final one is gonna be, you know, Yuji has not only Saki to worry about, also himself and his superiors and everything. And oh man, it's crazy. So I will see you all on Monday. Have a good day.